Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I'm going to take on something of an unusual reel. This is a Power Pak performance reel by Silstar. This is Bob's reel. Bob had purchased a group of these reels online through Facebook Marketplace and the like, and this is one of them. He asked me to make sure that I could tune them up. So there's a decided whine in this. I don't know if that's normal. I would personally find it annoying. But we're going to take this apart and we're going to make sure that it gets serviced, greased, and lubed and the like, cleaned up. And we'll see what may result in that little whine there, and if that's something that can be repaired. So I start by taking off the external pieces first. And notice I wear a glove on my hand and I have a parts tray. And I keep all of my screws and pieces and parts in there so that when I go to reinstall, it's easy enough. And I've seen a lot of Silstar spinning reels. This is the first of the ones that I've seen as a conventional reel, but I did see a lot of Pinnacle reels, and I believe the two firms were associated. So I'm not sure if this was just a branding kind of thing. I believe Pinnacle also put out the Power Pak, so it may just be a branding part, but I'm not sure. So as I'm taking these off, I generally like to thank our first responders and essential personnel and everybody who's working hard to keep us safe, our local hometown heroes, our first aides, our fire, our rescue, our police, anybody in the medical fields, and all of the people keeping our supply chains full as we try to combat this disease. So thank you for all it is that you do. It seems like it's getting a little bit better, but didn't it seem that way last year during the summer months, and then all of a sudden it came back with a vengeance. So please do your part. Make sure that you maintain your social distances, wear your masks and the like, and I think probably you'll all be better off for that. All right, so the handle came off, the star dragger or adjuster is off, and then notice the sequence of the pieces that are underneath this. That's usually important. And one of the things that I recommend doing is take pictures along the way, because you may find that you can forget that you had tension washers in this order. I like to put them in the cap to kind of retain that. And it actually looks like the tension washer is backed up by a flat washer. And I'm wondering if somebody may have worked on this reel, because usually you have the flat washers top and bottom and compress that little tension washer in between. The idea with that tension washer is drag sensitivity, and that would make it easier or give you more play in adjusting your drag washers out. So we've taken that off. There's a bushing here that's in that drag stack, and now we're going to go to the four side plate screws here and see what we got underneath here. So as best I know, Silstar was not a manufacturer. They contracted the manufacturing to what's called trade reel firms, and they just simply sold in the distribution network. I believe their early history was that they were founded over in Europe by a group of 8 or 9 distributors working to have a branded product that could compete with some of the more well-known ones at a lower price. And I do know that as I was looking at Pinnacle the other day, that there was a South Carolina headquarters for Silstar, and Pinnacle was located on Silstar Way. So, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing it Silstar and it should be Silstar. Well, that's just me. Okay, underneath here looks pretty simple. We've got just an anti-reverse trip. It's going to ride with this little tag here. We've got 2 springs, a big main gear and a little gear, and that's so we found out why the noisemaker. We've got some kind of a spring in here. I'm not sure what that was. It may have even been wire line that was being used. I can't, it's hard to tell, and I'm not sure if it has any function whatsoever unless it's the spring. No, that wouldn't be the spring for that. So somehow we've got a piece of metal in here. It doesn't bear much resemblance to anything. And I think we're just going to eliminate that, because I'm going to say maybe it was wire line that got trapped. It's hard to imagine it getting trapped in here. But I don't have a schematic that would tell me what that is. and I'm just going to let it go, and we'll see what happens. So no bearings. We have 2 bushings on here. Take those off. Drag stack comes out next. This is your anti-reverse dog mechanism here. I'm just checking to see it's going to go this way. And this is your anti-reverse ratchet. Okay, that makes all the sense in the world. Let's go put that ratchet back on. And that's the way your anti-reverse ratchet is going to ride. It's going to sit right in there like that. We have a yoke and a pinion gear, and we have a ball bearing underneath. So let's oil the ball bearing. You don't have to take these things apart to do this, as long as you have access to the bearing. Notice which way the orientation is on the yoke. It is an S-shaped yoke. It is not even. Just wipe that clean. And we can put some grease onto the pinion gear. I just checked the teeth on the pinion gear. They're all well. They're just dry. So if there's anything going on in here, it's a dryness. Still curious about that spring. Now we can get our yoke assembly in. Oh, I have that backwards. Alright, that's your yoke assembly. Take a quick look at the innards here. I don't imagine there's going to be anything that's going to be surprising about this drag stack. You have a little Teflon washer there. We have some carbon tex, it looks like. There's a hard washer. So this is a quality reel. I'm not sure where it was made, but it's certainly a quality reel. Just clean up the old residual grease in there. It looks like a brass gear. That's very nice. Just going to go ahead and get some grease on that gear. It hasn't had grease on it in quite some time. And I'm just unsure what that metal piece, broken spring, something is. It doesn't look like it has any effect whatsoever on the reel, but I guess when we put this back together and give it a test drive, we're going to find out. Alright, so we have the hard washers. They don't require any kind of grease. And we have a round washer would go next. Another hard washer. Then the eared washer always goes in the middle. It's got the 2 points on the outside. Kind of looks like, well, a person's ears. Next up then would be that last hard washer, the cap washer. The 2 bushings. And there was a flat spring here. That went next. Okay, well, this would be where you would take pictures, or you would go back to your pictures if you were trying to struggle with where were these things. Alright, and then I think the only guess now, or the only thing to do, is kind of put a little bit of grease where the spool tensioner is. And it's a matter of just mating this this little hole here with that little stud there, and hoping for the best, I guess. So we want to load that up, swing the arm. Once you give this spool a spring, if you return it, okay, we're going to see if that did it. It seems like it did. And we'll put the 4 screws in here, and we'll tighten this reel back up and we'll give it a try. Oops, just looking, and that's the value of a parts tray. You can look in there and realize that you didn't do something that you should have done. And what I should have done is put the springs on each side of that yoke. That would be helpful. All right, let's try this again. We should be set on that lever because we just did it. And we'll put those 4 screws in. Those 4 screws were the same size, so they can belong in either and all sides. They're interchangeable. And if you like this kind of a video, I would ask you to subscribe to my channel. That will give you an idea of reel repair as a hobby or as a necessity, if you will, depending on what your situation is. And I try to service all kinds of reels, including those that are a little unique, like this one. We don't see this one around much, but it seems like a quality product. I guess the issue that I've always had with the Silstar brand is parts availability. I just haven't been able to find replacement parts. So if the reel's gone, you're out of luck. And if that spring is important there, well, whatever that may have been, if it was a necessary part of the reel, well, that's an out of luck kind of a position to be in. The only way you might be able to find them is with a donor reel. So we're just buttoning this up now. We'll give it a spin. We'll see what's going on there. You knew from the start when you turned this on that that wine was not part of the reel for sure. I mean, I've seen bad designs, but none of them include a certain wine to a reel. I just don't know how or where that may have come from. And hopefully it's just some kind of double protection there, as opposed to something that was absolutely critical to making this reel function properly. Can't imagine what it would be for, but that doesn't mean anything. Okay, let's go ahead and put the rest of the drag washers in here then. So we had a flat screw on the bottom. I'm going to take a risk here and say the flat washer. I'm going to take a risk that says it is one that belongs on top too. I'm going to guess that somebody was in there already servicing this reel, which they should have. It's old enough that it should have gotten an annual service. Now we can put the star adjuster back on here. So if you have questions on this reel or any reel in particular, go ahead and leave them in the comments section. If I can answer any of those questions for you, if I know the answer, I'll try to do that. If you have a reel that needs to be repaired, well, I repair reels by mail, and this one actually came from a local vendor in a flea market, and he asked me to tune up all the reels that he had acquired. But if you have a reel that needs to be serviced, would like me to do that, please send me an email on the business card that follows, and I'll be happy to do that for you. Well, it's taking the wine out, and there's no indication that whatever that piece of metal is impacting this in any way, or the missing piece of it is impacting it in any way. I imagine that's why this one wound up for sale, because it had a wine in it, but I just can't for the life of me figure out what that piece is, and I can't find the schematic that tells me what that piece is. So I guess sometimes you just gotta hope that it's a fail-safe of some description and that the reel can keep on fishing without it. Alright, there's just two pieces left here. Then there's the little cap here with the two screws. I'm going to try to line those up so that we can get the hold down on that. It's an attractive reel, that's for sure. It's a level line reel. It's a convenience reel. A lot of folks like that. I myself do not prefer to fish with a line guided reel, but I'm just old school. A lot of the reels that come up even in the higher price ranges these days do have that level line feature. A lot of folks have grown up using it, and that level line feature goes back a long way. You know, trace that all the way back to William Shakespeare back in the early 1900s with his reels had that level line feature. So it's not good or bad, it's just a variety of the fishing reel itself. For some reason this little screw is just not lining up quite right here. Not sure why. Take your time, use patience when you're working on reels. doesn't help to force anything. You'll only get in trouble. There we go. All right, we'll give that a little test drive. We'll see how we did. Well, it's not whining anymore. That's a good thing. So we know that it had something to do with that. All right, last piece then is just to take this side plate off and make sure that we have a little bit of grease in the back side. You could also check if you thought you were missing something with the line guide feature. Like if it was skipping or that, there's going to be a worm gear over here. So we'll take a look at the worm gear, take a look at the idler gear. And again, that's where this like this would you'd be at a disadvantage not having the parts, because those do fail, and if they fail, most of the time that means that this reel is a goner. You'll notice I'm laying my screws out on the desk in front of me here. I want to make sure that they're all the same. I was just working on a Okuma reel, and sure enough, one of them was a short screw. So there you go. Alright, we should be able to take this off. And nothing much going on there. There is a bearing in the back case here. We will oil that. You don't need to grease the idler gear. You can put a little bit of grease onto the metal part of the worm gear and a little bit onto the back stud before you reinstall. Alright, we know from looking at this that that stud was the one that was giving me the issue coming out, so that's going to go right back in place, just like that. I'll put the trim ring back on, and this one's going to be ready to go back to Bob. Right after I do one more thing, but I won't hold you up for that. I'm going to make sure that I oil the Pawl on the line guide. There we go, just had to line up the case. That ring was not symmetrical, and we just found the right spot. All right, a couple more screws to go, final test drive, and we'll be on our way. So if you have one of these, the Power Pak Performance, then now you know how to tune this up. And if you find one of these around at a reasonable price, it's a nicely designed reel. Just remember the downside, that you won't be able to get the replacement pieces and parts for it. Other than that, it looks like a fine reel, and probably was well priced. These reels tended to run a little bit less than the pen reels or the more moderately priced reels of the time. One more screw here. And that's because they job shop them. When you buy a trade reel, you typically enter into a contract for a known quantity, something along the lines of, let's say, 100,000. And when you do that, you probably sell 95,000 and you keep 5,000 for warranty and repair claims. And after that, most of the time these things say we'll repair or replace at our option, and it's almost never repaired unless they have broken reels in there that they can scavenge parts from. It's almost always just plain replaced from that extra 5,000 that they set aside for those purposes. And when those are gone, they're gone. Alright, just oiling the Pawl. Take that cap off. We'll run a little bit of oil onto the worm drive, and we will do the final test drive there, and we'll be done. There's a series of little washers here that go underneath. That's kind of what I'm working on at the moment. There's the little copper one that goes right in that the center of that hole there. It's kind of fun to play with. All right, we got it now. So again, if you're a first responder, thank you for everything it is that you do. It's really appreciated. All right, here we go. Test the drag. The drag's doing fine. The reel is doing fine. No more click, 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 click. And if anybody knows what this piece may or may not have been, I'd like to know. There's no tensioning hooks. It doesn't look like there's anything that would have been inserted into the side case somewhere. It just looks like somehow, some way, that broke loose from something. So if you know what that is, please let me know. I'd always be interested just from a curiosity standpoint of knowing what that is. So I hope you've enjoyed it. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thanks for watching.